What is the significance of a sound? This is what I'm preaching today, but this is not what I was planning on saying to you today. So this should be pretty direct and to the point, but man, it just lines up, right? So as we're sitting here, before the word was given of a sound being released, the Lord's speaking to me, and he's talking about a sound. So I want you to turn to the book of Joshua this morning. We're just going to visit a couple places. Is that okay? This isn't going to be real preachy. It's not going to be real preachy. Joshua 6, verse 15 says this, "And on the seventh day, the Israelites get up at dawn and marched around the town as they had done before, but this time they went around the town 7 times. Then the 7th time around, as the priests sounded the long blast, Joshua commanded the people, 'Shout, for the Lord has given you the town. Jericho and everything in it must be completely destroyed as an offering to the Lord. Only Rahab, the prostitute, and the others in her house will be spared, for she protected our spies.'" So what is this? This is the promise of the Israelites going into the land that was promised them, and the first thing that they face is a fortified city, a fortified town that was meant to keep the enemies out. But they had instruction from the Lord to walk around it 7 days, and for 6 days they only walk around one time, and there will be a ram's horns blast. And then the 7th day they'll walk around, and when the ram horn blasts, lift up a shout, and the walls will come down. There's power in our shout. There's a sound of heaven that he wants to release, and it's on the other side of our shout. A couple of weeks ago, we felt the impression to shout. Well, and then we have a week like this, and there's a move of the Spirit, and there's a breakthrough. Why? Because when we shout, when we obey what the Lord is saying, doors open up, fortified places come down, things that were impossible for us to inhabit and to walk in now become possible to get into. What was it? How did those walls fall? Many scholars believe this, that the way that the walls fall wasn't that they just crumbled, but what kept them out of the city became ramps into the city. So when they lifted up a shout, if it would have just fell down into rubble, it would have been hard for them to get in, right? It's messy. But they believe that the walls fell and became ramps into the city because they were obedient. There was a sound that they released. Are you doing all right? 1 Samuel 1. 1 Samuel 1, verses 9 through 18. Once, after a sacrificial meal at Shiloh, Hannah got up and went to pray. Eli the priest was sitting at his customary place beside the entrance of the tabernacle. Hannah was in deep anguish, crying bitterly, weeping bitterly, as she prayed to the Lord, and she made this vow: "O Lord of heaven's armies, if you'll look upon my sorrow and answer my prayer and give me a son, then I'll give him back to you. He will be yours for his entire lifetime, and a sign that he has been dedicated to the Lord. His hair will never be cut." And as she was praying to the Lord, Eli watched her, seeing her lips moving, but not hearing a sound. He thought she had been drunk. "Must you come here drunk?" he demanded. "Throw away your wine." "Oh, no, sir," she replied. "I haven't been drinking wine or anything stronger, but I'm very discouraged, and I was pouring out my heart to the Lord." Sometimes all we can do is Just talk under our breath. Weep. You know what it means? You know what it looks like when someone's weeping? Their lips are quivering, and it's. I believe that's what was happening, and she was accused of being drunk. He was criticizing her desperation. Desperation has a sound. Desperation has an appearance. And it's not just to appear that way, but when you're really desperate, you can tell. How many of you have ever seen someone desperate before? Can't you tell? Let's go to 1 Kings 18. There's only 2 more after this. First Kings 18:41. Then Elijah said to Ahab, "Go get something to eat and drink, for I hear a mighty rainstorm coming." So Ahab went to eat and drink, and Elijah climbed the top of Mount Carmel and bowed low to the ground and prayed with his face between his knees. "Go eat, for I hear the sound of the coming of rain." Then he said to his servant, "Go and look out towards the sea." And the servant went and looked and returned to Elijah and said, "I didn't see a thing." 7 times Elijah told him to go and look. And finally, the 7th time, his servant told him, "I saw a little cloud about the size of a man's hand rising from the sea." Then Elijah shouted, "Hurry to Ahab and tell him, climb into your chariot and go back home. If you don't hurry, the rain will stop you." But before there was a sign of a hand, there was the sound of rain. Sometimes we get a word or a sound from the Lord before the sign ever shows up. What I believe we're discovering here even today is that there is a sound that's being released before the promise comes to pass. What's the promise? That all who call upon the name of the Lord will be saved, and that we'll see the sick healed, we'll see the possessed free, we'll see all of those things that it says that we'll see in Matthew 28. But first, there's a sound. What we're experiencing, why it's important to allow the sound to come out of us is basically what it says in the word, "Bless the Lord, O my soul, and let everything that's within me rejoice." Before I see the fulfillment of the promise, I'm going to release a sound. That verse is meant to prophesy to ourselves in times that we don't feel like praising Him, but we've heard the sound that there's a promise. And so we bless the Lord and we tell our soul to line up with what the word of the Lord is saying. What He's wanting to do in this house is to release a sound. Why is our worship important? Because it's a sound unto His ears. It's a sound of heaven. Because when we worship, we don't worship by might or power. We worship Him in spirit and in truth. If we worship Him in spirit and in truth, our worship is spirit-filled and we minister unto the Lord. Do you know that our worship isn't to glorify us? Contrary to popular belief. In many churches, you guys know that, but many churches are obsessed with the way that it sounds, how good it sounds, how good the instruments are, who's singing and who's not singing, who led this song and not that song. It has nothing to do with that. Do you know that worship wasn't meant for you? You ready for the next one? We're going to go New Testament. Acts 2. And on the day of Pentecost, all the believers were meeting together in one place, and suddenly there was a sound from heaven like the roaring of a mighty windstorm, and it filled the house where they were sitting. What happens first? A sound. A sound comes first. They were sitting in the upper room, and then like a sound of a roaring wind came into the room. And we know that the church is transformed in a moment when the sound came in. A sound is coming into this church so that we would be transformed in a moment. I'm not saying that we're bad. I'm not saying that we've not been doing the right things and going after the right things. I'm saying that when transformation comes, when a new revelation comes, when a new sound comes, we don't look back, but we press on. What happened that day is that there was a sound that filled the room like a mighty rushing wind, and it came and it rested upon them like tongues of fire. And the one that was denying Jesus in one chapter, just a few chapters later, is preaching to 3,000 full of the Spirit on the porch, because there was a sound that came in and everything changed. There's a sound He's wanting to release in your life. There's a sound He's wanting to release corporately, and it's so that it would be an earmark, and we would be able to press on and move into the things that the Lord has for it. This is history, not just history, but this is our family history. How many of you are children of God today? This isn't just history, this is our family history. And all throughout Scripture, we see the importance of sound. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. What caused life to come? It was the sound of His voice. Let there be, and there was. Can we keep going this morning? Just a few chapters later, I want you to flip to Acts 16. 25 is where we'll start. There's two guys in prison for ministering and casting out a devil that was in a little girl who was used to make money. And so they're thrown into the inner prison, and Acts 16, 25 through 28 says this: around midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God. And the other prisoners were listening. And suddenly there was a massive earthquake, and the prison was shaken to its foundations, and all the doors immediately flew open, and the chains of every prisoner fell off. On the other side of our sound, when we release a true praise unto the Lord, chains fall off, the earth shakes, prisoners are set free. On the other side of our sound, there's freedom, there's deliverance, there's healing, but we can't bridle what the Lord is saying and doing in our lives. I don't know about you, I don't know all of your stories, I know many of them, but for me, I have to get past the comfortability of not opening my mouth to praise, because He's been too good to me not to do it. He picked me up out of my mess. He picked me up in the middle of darkness, and I thought I was good. And then I said, oh no, how did I get here? And then He extended a hand and said, this is how you got here, but I'm the way you get out. Follow me, give your life to me, submit to me, do it my way. I don't know about you, but that's praiseworthy. Many of us in this room have that testimony. If that's not your testimony, you probably still have a great testimony. Many of you would say, my testimony's boring. The Lord was good. I never got addicted. I never did these things. Well, praise God. There's a sound on the inside of you that you need to release, because there's young people that say, I'm so afraid of facing life today because of what I might face and all the troubles. But there's a God in heaven who will keep you and protect you, but you have to release your sound. There's a sound for you to release. There's something for you to say about it. On the other side of our sound, there's freedom. Are you doing okay? That's really it. Watch. That's really it. Watch this. There's a sound that he's been refining in your life. There's a sound that he's been producing on the inside of you. There's a sound. That sound is what it says, that let the redeemed of the Lord say so. If you're redeemed by him, there's a sound that you can release, and it's the sound of freedom. But many churches will bridle this. Many churches say that if you go too crazy, people are going to leave. If you speak in tongues, people are going to be freaked out and leave. If you testify, people are just going to think that it's fake. The whole goal of the enemy is to get you to shut up. The whole goal of the enemy is to get you to be quiet. The whole goal of the enemy is to think that your voice doesn't matter. But the Lord, since you were in your mother's womb, called you forward, and there was a sound released, and it was a sound of destiny. It was a sound of purpose. You were created by sound. Think about that. Well, scientifically, that's not so, is it? In Matthew, it talks about being able to comprehend things when you walk with the Lord. And some people don't understand because they don't walk with Jesus. But I know that it says in Jeremiah that he called us forward. And so it was by a sound that you were created so that you would glorify him and release a sound. What happens when you begin to open up your mouth? For many of us, we begin to get nervous. But even in the middle of your nervousness, keep opening your mouth. Why? Because those walls are coming down. Because prisoners are being set free. Because you were made to glorify him and him alone. That's the whole purpose of your creation. Because you were created from the sound of his voice. I want to speak to all insecurities in this room today. I want to speak to every insecurity in this room today. If you're here, it's because you were called forward on purpose to release a sound. And the Spirit comes in like a sound. He comes in like a wind. He comes in so that you would recognize and submit yourself to him, so that you would be made fit for purpose, so that you could release a sound and go help the people that you just walked out from among. Okay? I want to tell you that if you're breathing, there's still purpose in your life. I want to tell you that if you're sitting here and maybe you're not living for the Lord, or maybe you're not where you should be for the Lord, it doesn't negate the fact that you were called forward with the sound to release a sound. Every one of us in this room are needed for what the Lord wants to do in this city. Every one of us in this room are needed for what the Lord wants to do in Indiana, in this region. Every one of us are needed so that we would see that last day harvest come in around the world. But it starts with a sound. It starts with a sound. The Bible says that deep calls unto shallow. No. It's that deep cries unto deep. The hour that we're living in, what is that deep place? We think of an intellectual understanding, but I really believe that deep place is the depths of the innermost part of the Father's heart. The deep things in his heart are calling unto deep. What is the deep things in his heart? Lost people. You're in a room like this today because you have a purpose in reaching lost people and sharing Jesus. He's wanting to cultivate on the inside of you a hunger and a desire to know him and to release the sound. When I really began to know Jesus and he really began to change my life, I really began to talk like it. But for a lot of the years of my life, I knew in my head, but I didn't understand. I heard, but I didn't listen. See, there's a difference in hearing and listening. The sound is released so that you would listen. Not so that you would hear it and get goosebumps, but so that you would listen and understand and respond. To the 7 churches in Revelation, every one of them says, he who has an ear to hear what the Spirit is saying, listen and understand. That's not a coincidence. Do you want to know the word in the hour that we're living in? It's this. Listen, don't hear. Listen and understand. It's time to let go of things that don't put Jesus first. It's time to reprioritize some things in our life. If Jesus isn't first, it's time. There's a sound that's being released. He's equipping us. He's the Spirit speaking and saying, he who has an ear, listen. How do you have an ear to listen? By walking with Jesus and knowing his voice and knowing his character. But if you don't walk with him, you'll only be a hearer and not a listener and a doer. Are you good? I'm done for real. For real, for real. Stand with me, please. Every one of you, whether you're ready or not ready, doesn't matter. You know what matters? Are you willing? Are you willing? You don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to you. You're not sure about it. That's okay. He's not afraid of that. The only stop in the road is your willingness. Your yes. Are you willing? Will you say yes today? There's a sound of intercession that's going to be birthed from this house. And do you know it's from the deep part of the heart of the Father? Do you know what it is? It's for lost people. There has to begin to be a weeping. Why did Jesus ride into Jerusalem and weep and mourn over Jerusalem? Because they had a form of godliness, denied the power thereof. They listened, never really understood. They heard, but they never listened and understood, so his heart broke for those people that thought that they were okay and weren't. I want to open the altar back up. Let there begin to be a release of intercession in this place. Begin to cry out for lost people in your life. Brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, friends, family members. Here's what I know. That if we'll cry out for those things, he'll hear. He'll respond. And he'll move. But there's a sound that needs to be released. There's a sound that needs to be released. Jason, if you'd come and just play the song. I just want you, before you go today, I think we're doing okay. Not as good as I thought, but we're doing all right. Will you take a moment? Is your family worth it to you? Are your friends worth it to you? Are the lost people around it worth it to you? If they are, just begin to release a sound in this place today.